She had texted him from my phone. And the message said, "Be careful. He can't know." Here's how it all started. I used to think I understood silence. Not the awkward kind that hangs in elevators. Not the peaceful quiet of a room after midnight. I mean the deeper silence. The kind that exists between two people who believe they know each other completely. The kind you mistake for trust. That silence had lived between us for years. If you had asked me that morning whether I trusted her, I wouldn't have hesitated. Not a careful answer. Not a hopeful one. A confident yes. We had been together for 5 years. 5 years of shared routines. Inside jokes that didn't need explaining. Lazy Sundays where time disappeared. Late-night conversations that drifted past midnight without effort. 5 years of knowing how she took her coffee. Which songs she skipped every time they came on. What made her laugh when she was stressed. What made her quiet when something was wrong. We weren't perfect. But we were honest. Or at least, that's what I believed. That day didn't feel important. It didn't feel dangerous. It felt forgettable. Sunlight spilled through the kitchen window, catching dust in the air like tiny floating stars. Coffee cooled on the counter. The apartment felt calm. Predictable. Safe. She was running late, rushing through the apartment with one shoe on, hair still damp from the shower. Her phone was dead. Forgotten on the nightstand. "Can I borrow yours?" she asked, already reaching for it. I didn't pause. Didn't question it. "Yeah," I said. "Just don't scroll." I joked. She smiled. That familiar smile. The one that always softened me. "I won't. Promise." Her thumbs moved quickly. Efficient. Confident. Then she handed the phone back, grabbed her bag, and leaned in to kiss my cheek. "I'll call you later." The door closed behind her. And that was it. Just another normal day. Or so I thought. The hours passed quietly. I worked from home, half-focused. Half distracted by nothing at all. The apartment felt different without her presence, but not empty. Comfortable. Familiar. The kind of quiet you don't question. Around 3 in the afternoon, I stood up to refill my coffee. My phone sat on the counter where I'd left it earlier. That's when it vibrated. A soft buzz. Easy to ignore. But I didn't. The screen lit up. A notification banner slid across the display. One message. One name I didn't recognize. And one sentence that pulled the air out of my chest. "I can't stop thinking about last night." I didn't touch the phone. I just stared at it. My mind reached for explanations. Any explanation. Wrong number. Spam. Some mistake. My heart started to beat faster, like it already knew the truth and was trying to warn me. The phone vibrated again. Insistent. I picked it up. Unlocked it. The message thread opened. There weren't dozens of messages. There didn't need to be. There were enough. Enough to tell a story. Enough to erase doubt. They didn't talk like strangers. They didn't talk carefully. They talked like people who were comfortable with each other. Intimate. Familiar. Easy. The kind of ease that takes time. My hands felt cold. My chest tightened. And then I saw it. A sent message. From my number. From my phone. Written earlier that day. "I miss you already. I'll message when I can." The room tilted. She had used my phone. She had texted him while standing in our apartment. While smiling at me. While promising she wouldn't scroll. My legs gave out, and I dropped into the chair like gravity had doubled. My mind scrambled, trying to rearrange reality into something survivable. But there was no version of this that ended differently. She was having an affair. And she hadn't slipped. She hadn't been reckless. She had been careful. Careful enough to think using my phone was safe. Careful enough to believe I'd never see it. The phone buzzed again. Another message. Same. Be careful. Same. Be careful. He can't know. I closed my eyes. Breathed in. Breathed out. Over and over. I considered pretending I hadn't seen it. Waiting. Collecting proof. But something inside me refused. Because the betrayal wasn't just the affair. It was the confidence. The assumption that I was blind. I stood up. And I waited. What shattered me wasn't that she loved someone else. It was that she trusted me so little. And trusted herself so much. She came home just after 6. The door opened. Keys dropped into the bowl. Shoes kicked off. "Hey," she said casually. "Sorry I'm late." I didn't answer. She looked up, sensing it instantly. The shift. The weight. "What's wrong?" I held up my phone. Her eyes flicked to it. Just for a second. But it was enough. "Who is he?" I asked. My voice was calm. Too calm. She frowned, confusion crossing her face. "What are you talking about?" I unlocked the phone and turned the screen toward her. The color drained from her face. Silence stretched between us. Thick. Heavy. "I saw the messages," I said. "All of them." She opened her mouth. Closed it. Nothing came out. "From my phone," I added quietly. "You texted him from my phone." Her body folded as she sank onto the couch. "It's not." I raised my hand. "Don't." The word landed harder than I expected. She swallowed. "How long?" I asked. She stared at the floor. "How long?" I repeated. "A few months," she whispered. "A few months." Months of lies. Months of shared meals. Shared laughter. Shared bed. Months of secrets sleeping beside me. "Why?" I asked. She shook her head. "I didn't plan for it." I laughed. Soft. Bitter. "No one ever does." Tears streamed down her face. They didn't move me. "I was scared," she said. "I didn't want to lose you." "You already did." The room felt smaller. And I understood something then. This wasn't anger. It was grief. That night, neither of us slept. Time stretched. We talked. Argued. Cried. Every conversation circled the same truth. Trust doesn't break loudly. Trust doesn't break loudly. It fractures quietly. Piece by piece. Each word chipped away at what was left. Each explanation made it clearer. The relationship I thought I had was already gone. No apology could rebuild it. No promise could erase the image burned into my mind. Her fingers typing. Her smile. My phone in her hands. The days that followed felt unreal. I moved through the apartment like a guest. Every object felt unfamiliar. Every memory felt altered. She tried to fix things. Tried to explain. Tried to promise. But I couldn't unsee the message. Couldn't forget the ease. Eventually, we made the decision neither of us wanted to say out loud. We ended it. Not with shouting. Not with slammed doors. Quietly. She moved out a week later. And I was left alone. Healing didn't come quickly. Some nights were harder than others. But clarity replaced pain. I saw the signs I'd ignored. The late nights. The distance. The smiles at her phone. I learned that trust isn't just believing someone. It's believing yourself. Betrayal says more about the betrayer than the betrayed. My phone sits beside me now. Silent. Just a device again. But I'll never forget the day it told me the truth. Sometimes, the thing we least expect becomes the mirror we need. And sometimes, losing what we thought was real is the first step toward finding something honest. Something better.